Stay tuned after the video for a special announcement from Mully about the Xmas Collab. One of the things they say about Japan is that they're stuck in the 50s. I don't think so. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about the perennial notion that Japan is stuck solidly, immovably in the 50s. I don't think it's the 50s. I think they skipped the 60s and 70s or went through them real fast, and I think they're actually stuck in the 80s. So one of the things that you see about Japan a lot is this idea that Japan is stuck in the 50s because of women's roles in society, usually being the homemaker and controlling the money from home, and also lifetime employment, and everybody's happy and clean and everything seems kind of homogeneous and everything else. It's a placid, idyllic lifestyle that Japan has managed to keep going from the 1950s through on today. And I don't think that that perception of the country is at all accurate. Well, at all accurate anymore. At one point, yes, life in Japan really did look a lot like the 50s. Husband would come home at 7 or 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock after drinking with people at work. He got home and had dinner, and everything was a fairly idyllic, pleasant life. Working hard, long days, and nice income, and a nice home life, sort of. If not just a little bit stale or sterile. But those days are long past. A lot of couples these days are both working. The kids are off to school. You end up with something similar to what I grew up with as latchkey kids that come home with nobody there. The nuclear family pretty much has gone by the wayside. They're still around, and much more so in Japan than other countries like the US, where more than one generation lives under the same roof. But by and large, even that's falling by the wayside. Lifetime employment pretty much doesn't exist anymore. Companies are not afraid to lay workers off or fire them or kick them out. They do this at a much lower rate than places like the US, Canada, and other places in the West, but it still happens here. People lose their jobs after 15 and 20 years. The steady rise based on seniority is not necessarily guaranteed anymore. It does happen, and there are plenty of places that you can find that you'll just float up like a bubble depending on your age. But today, more and more, I see the same things that I saw when I was growing up in the 80s. That's right, I grew up in the 80s. Because really, that's the only period of time when Wham's Last Christmas was really appropriate. So in the 80s, you saw real pushes forward, like more women in the workplace. Not that there weren't before, but in the 80s, at least maybe that's just when I came to notice it. You saw a lot more dual income, no kids situations in the 80s, or very, very small families, mom, dad, boy, and girl. And a lot of times those kids were latchkey kids, which means after school, mom and dad were still at work. So when you got home, there was nobody there, and your job was to sit down and do your homework for the next 2 hours or so before mom and dad got home. Or you went over to a friend's house and hung out with them until your parents got home. But there was a real push in the 80s to get more people out into the workplace and just in general, increase employment and stuff like that. And life was pretty good. Overall, the beginning of the decades was a little hard, but you saw the advent of ineffectual government programs such as Just Say No, and in Japan's case, perhaps Abenomics. So we'll see how that goes. Even that parallels this push to get women into the workplace that is more lip service than actual function. In the 80s, there was a lot of people worried about unemployment and not being able to find jobs, and the world was changing based on computers and technology and everything else permeating society, and computers were going to change education, much like now. Although one difference there is teachers in the US were a little bit marginally more accepting of technology in the classroom than current Japanese teachers are here. Some would like to, but there's some politics in there. So I don't think Japan is mired in the 50s anymore. I think they are starting to be mired in the 80s, which is maybe an improvement. Hard to say. Some social movements going on at that time. We'll see. I'm curious to see what you have to say about my parallels between the 50s and the 80s and whether Japan is in the 50s or the 80s. So please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. And I will talk to you later. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Aaron here's drying a popcorn fart. Howdy, this here's Big Paul, and it's time once again for the J-Vlog Xmas Collab. This year's topic is, what's your favorite dessert for Xmas? Now, I'm going to need from you is a 20-second clip, no text, no background music, and no transitions. You can send that to me at mully5150@gmail.com. And it don't matter if you ain't never been on camera before. Just do the best you can and let the rough ends drag.